Hello, bruvs. I'm back with more books. But of course I am, bruv. To be or not to be, Shakespeare's Soliloquies, edited by Michael Kerrigan. This is quite interesting. I would keep adding Shakespeare books to my collection since I have not read any Shakespeare beyond the sonnets. I keep threatening to do it, but I feel like I have nothing to learn from Shakespeare. Nothing. So, yeah, but I'll keep buying books. If I do decide to read some Shakespeare, this would be a good starting point because it will give me a clue as to what I should probably read. But I don't see it happening, so it's all in vain. This book is for me mother. The true story behind the man-eater of Rottenburg, cannibal, which is ironic because today my mother called me after I had left the thrift store buying more books and told me that she'd said a prayer that I would stop buying books. I'm not sure why. Because I know she thinks I'm becoming a hoarder, but I'm admittedly hoarding books for the apocalypse. And because they're good investments. I don't know how much this book's worth, but I know most of these books I bought are worth more than the 50 cents that I paid. So it's like exchanging a 50-cent piece for $5 every time I buy a book, minimally. But yeah, I've never heard of this guy before. What's the deal? German native Armin Muis placed it. I don't care. He's a cannibal. What else do you need to know? Speaking of political cannibals, Ted Kennedy, Triumphs and Tragedies by Lester David. I have quite a collection of Kennedy family books, and probably wouldn't have bought this if it wasn't in such great condition for probably mid-70s mass market paperback. Say, Michael Fay, Dearborn Heights. Yeah, if this book wouldn't have been in such great condition, I probably wouldn't have purchased it. But yeah, 1975. Mao Zedong, political leaders of the 20th century. You don't find many books on Mao. Not that I'm a particular fan of Mao or that I'm looking for his books, but I am a fan of mass market paperbacks, and if I'd ever get my ass in gear, I would finish my bookshelf that I plan to build along my basement stairway, heading down so I can have walls full of books, which is what my mother fears, but I mean, what's it matter? Violence in Chicago, Rights and Conflict. The violent confrontation of demonstrators and police in the parks and streets of Chicago during the week of the Democratic National Convention. I believe it was, 72? Maybe it was earlier. Maybe it was the late 60s. What year does this say? 68. Yeah, it was 68. Again, this book is in relatively good condition, and I have a section in my library room on riots, mainly focused on Detroit riots, but I believe there are some from Chicago riots too, so there's that. Mal's Spellbook number 2, a book you probably wouldn't think is worth anything, but worth about $7 or $8, and I know I have couple of these that I threaten to sell and will eventually, as I've been recently listing books. So yeah, this is just a little cash cow. Sell 2 of them for 15, 5 for shipping, make about $10 off it. I'll take it every time. The Mad Hatters by Emmanuel Tenay with Lucy Friedman. To Rose, my dear friend and co-worker. Mr. Bernard Rose. I wonder if he killed him. What a weird book to give to your coworker. The Murderers. Of course, I'm going to be giving it to my mother. Lucy Freeman. 1976. Of all the recorded deaths in the United States, those by murder get the least attention. What? Let's get the most attention. The Murderers is an in-depth look at 4 people who have committed murder, the events that led up to that ultimate act of violence, the act itself, etc. Another book for me, mother. Zeev Shafet's Devil's Night and Other True Tales of Detroit. I have at least 3 or 4 copies of this, and I do have one for sale somewhere on eBay, I believe. But every time I see a nice hardcover, I will grab it. It's about the hell that Detroit was back in the 70s and 80s. Maybe the de Tocqueville of the 80s. Devil's Night is an extraordinary, compelling journey into the heart of a dreadful place, the 6th largest city in the United States. No one has tapped the psyche of the urban American city in such a clear, discerning, and even-handed fashion. Chaffetz's words, unambiguous and brutally honest, should be cause for reflection for every politician and planner in this country. The Lonely Lady of San Clemente, the story of Pat Nixon, who I believe is Nixon's wife. Maybe I'm wrong. Yes, it is. Never seen this book before, and I looked it up, and it does have some relative value. Wait, did this guy write that? Same book? Ted Kennedy, Triumphs and Tragedies. Sad I don't remember it. Yeah, he did write it. So... Lester David. Crazy. Didn't even know. That's interesting. Farm girl, movie extra, teacher, first lady is the archetype of the devoted political wife, now leading the semi-reclusive life behind the walls of her San Clemente estate. She is a classic example of the woman who has subordinated her own desires to the ambition of the man she married. I mean... You can say that, but, I mean, when the guy becomes the president, it's pretty hard not to be a subordinate. Figure. Satan-proof your home. It's got a great cover. Might read this on the channel once I get back to finishing some of these books, since I took a day off, not by choice, but I had things to do. Satan-proof your home. Marilyn Hickey. All over the world, millions of families are falling apart. Marilyn Hickey has boldly exposed the source of this failure of the family phenomena, Satan. In this book, Marilyn will show you how to develop and transform your household into a powerful family unit. I don't think it's Satan. I think it's progressivism, but, I mean, it's basically the same effect. The Gentleman's Guide to Toasting. Since I'm not a gentleman, I'm barely a drinker, book has no purpose in my life, but I still got it. It's like a breezy little read of minor factoids. The Dream Interpretation Dictionary, Symbols, Signs, and Meanings. Sure you know what all this is about? 60-cent book. Can't go wrong. Although if I would have waited to their half off sale, I probably could have got it for 30 cents, but waiting will do me no good, as you get to watch me take a sticker off. Yeah, you all know about dream interpretation, right? Good. Pizza Tiger by Tom Monahan. It's the story of Tom Monahan's life, obviously, when the book was written. And you'll see why this book was available is because there's pages falling out in the photo section. But obviously, this is when Tom Monahan was the Tigers owner. He ran the team into the ground, although he did win a world championship, I believe, in the first year that he was not manager, but owner. This book has always been worth money. It used to be worth $30 or $40, but now it's down to about $15. Strange kind of book to be worth that much money. I'm not sure why there's such a rabid following of this guy, other than the fact he owned two iconic brands in the Tigers and Domino's Pizza. Although Domino's Pizza is rather average. And the Tigers have mostly been average. Yeah, they have been average since the time he bought them. Except for, I guess they won some, got to the World Series a few times since. I've owned this book numerous times, sold it probably 20 times. Because mostly when it was selling, nobody cared about the book at book sales. And this guy that I used to sell books with and roomed with out in Las Vegas taught me to always pick this book up. And so I did. A Walk With Me. I've probably featured this book before. It's by Gwen Fostick, who was a Michigan... I don't know if she was a Michigan native, but she was a Michigan citizen, and she handmade these books, and they become well sought after little treasures from 1958. I think she hand produced all of them, so kind of have a little cult following. Probably put one of these on the channel at some point. But yeah. Might as well do these as a bundle. Oh. The works of E. Philip Oppenheim. I don't really know who he is, but at $1 a copy for these 1920, circa 1920 hardcover books. It was a no-brainer. I could probably sell them for about $30. Well worth it. These two books, which I will be featuring in my next edition of Eden Southworth Mania, I purchased today at John King Books after I went to the cemetery to read this book, Indigo, which I had featured in the last thing, and I wrote a little note. I took it to the grave of that lady and read it to her. Read her own book that she had to relinquish some, 45 years ago. Anyway, I stopped at John King on the way back from there since it was only a few miles away and picked up this copy of Zenobia's Suitors for $5.50, which is about $4.50 below my spending limit on Southworth books. And I also got this nice copy, $9.50, as you can see, from John King Books North. I'll keep that in there. It's actually a nice copy. And while there, I spoke to a girl who worked there and told her about Laura Mundo. Told her to look her up, and she was interested enough to look her up. So hopefully she becomes a Laura Mundo devotee. This is a really nice copy. Anyway, that's all. I think that's all I bought today. If not, I don't care. Goodbye.